Chaudhary. I am today in Pune. Yes, I'm no longer at home in Remscheid. I'm on the road and I have two gentlemen with me who visited me in Remscheid. Interestingly, both of them have. Pranesh Krishnamurthy as well as Piyush Chaudhary. We're here in the offices of the company The Football Mind, which Pranesh has co-founded. And thank you very much, first of all, that we're here, Pranesh.
Thanks for coming.
To start off, the topic, sports technology and football, it's becoming more and more important every day.
Absolutely. So we've always seen that sports technology has been used in a lot of fields, especially in cricket, in India also, and in football all over the world. We have huge giants in wearable technology. We have SaaS technology running, from Australia. A lot of companies investing in this field, and we've seen the kind of improvements they've had create with different sports, organizations across the world. Why not apply that to India? And our main motive has been to create affordable and more mass scaling sports technology, which is the main idea of the Football Mind.
So mass scale, that's an interesting part. Piyush, you've been part as an entrepreneur in sports tech, in startups, who've of course tried to change the scene. The one or the other project was successful, the one or the other project was sadly not successful. I guess that's the scene with startups. How do you see the scene at the moment in India specifically?
It's a very interesting scene, I must admit. There's always a buzz about tech and people like these words, but then you have to actually drill down to the bottom and say, is it actually what they like? Because ultimately any business which you come about is a function of the ROI, and we are unfortunately not in 2014 anymore, where VCs look at a model and they say, wow, this could be scalable. I mean, nowadays it's all about first you show me the revenue and then we talk about. And one of the biggest challenges with sports, and it's both working in together, is sports as a property itself is always seen in a negative angle when they try to make money. It's all about sports is not business. Sports should be for the beauty of the game, but that's not true. If the stakeholders of sports need to make money in order for this people enjoying the sport need to have fun. So I believe that's the biggest challenge I think entrepreneurs are going to face in the next coming years. Still, hopefully sports technology becomes big enough for again to be on their radar, because these things always work in cycles.
Well,
so I'm hoping for the
big bang, so to say. Huh? Well, that's the word, no, right?
We call it a hockey stick in our...
Actually, I can call it
The hockey stick.
Okay, now the interesting is, of course, those of you who are watching, please ask your questions not only to me but to my two guests, Pranesh and Piyush, as well today. If I come and speak to you about the Football Mind, I mean, I've known you for a while now, and I've seen your work, not your work, but the work of your team now. How many of you started the project? Where do you stand now? How many people work in the Football Mind? What do you do? Okay, tell the viewers a little bit more.
So we started around the World Cup in 2014 with my co-founder Rohit, and we soon had
we
on board.
greet him. He's our cameraman today.
Hi Rohit. How are you?
Hello there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a startup. You got to do everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the man behind the scenes, like Football Mind.
So yeah, we started this with the idea of doing something for Indian football, which was a little different, and trying to bring everyone together on one platform, trying to build accessible technology, wearable technology, SaaS technology, and to help even the local clubs get good kind of fan engagement, because as Piyush was mentioning about sports and money, and we always see sponsorships coming in for sports, and it's directly connected to the number of fans the game has. So that's a very important aspect we've looked at, and Piyush would know, of course, he's worked in fan engagement, technology for fan engagement. What we do is more of an online, offline, event-based fan engagement where we create sustainable fans. So we started with this concept of, let's see how we can bring people together. Can we build a platform for people to come together, organize themselves, structure them out? And slowly we started realizing that there is a lack of communication, so to say, within the sector in India and even outside India. When I say within, it could mean between a football association and a club and an academy, or an academy, their own staff,
the players,
the fans and the clubs. So we said, okay, there could be a common gap that we could use to to bridge all this. And of course, you have your Facebook and your Twitter and all, but they're more social media websites, not
but
something.
I still have to ask you the question.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm part of the Football Mind, your social community that you've created. Why should people use the Football Mind than rather using Facebook? I mean, Facebook is everything in your life nowadays. Why should they use it?
So we don't. We don't look at Football Mind as a substitute or a replacement for a Facebook or a Twitter. but it is something that goes hand in hand with that, because what we have on the Football Mind is the entire ecosystem of football. So you have your clubs, you have your academies, you have your coaches, you have your staff talking about specific things. In the world or the sea of Facebook and Twitter, these things could get lost. It's not easy to directly look for a job maybe in football on Facebook or on Twitter. It's not.
LinkedIn is then
Right, LinkedIn is one angle. So we bring all these aspects of these different social platforms together and create an ecosystem. So not only can the club handle their day-to-day activities, because you don't have software tools on Facebook or LinkedIn to able to run your club, to manage your training modules, your trial sessions, your tournaments, all these kind of things. Of course, connect with the fans while doing that. If the fans and the clubs are there on the same platform, ticketing, merchandising, everything becomes easy. So it's a complete 360-degree solution we're looking at. And to add to this on top, we have a layer of wearable technology, which we have created on our own over the last couple of years. We've made our own wearable technology, in-house IP. It's for field sports, and right now we focus on football. So it's as simple as a device that can be put in a strap, worn by the player. You have your training session or your game for 45 minutes, and you get all your statistics and data, which again plugs into our SaaS module. If you're an amateur player, you could throw around your stats to your friends, have fun that way. So this is the kind of ecosystem we built and we want to push forward, which is not possible on a Facebook or a Twitter or a LinkedIn. But of course, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn is equally important for the social angle to spread things out faster. So we do work not against, but with these other social platforms.
You use it for your platform.
Exactly.
May I add something what
Sure.
Pranesh just said, and it's very interesting. I was having a chat with one of these McKinsey guys, he was a senior partner there, and he said something about the world moving towards integrators. And he said what's happening in now is, be it big companies or small companies, when they build something, they think it's the best thing in the world. And for them to be able to build something on top of that is quite easy, but to be able to drag them from it and change behavior is something which is getting close to impossible. Google's launched multiple chat platforms. Lots of companies have tried, but WhatsApp is king because distribution is king. If you build something on top of WhatsApp, now that's something which I want to listen to, because it's
No,
only
but
helping.
WhatsApp, for example, failed, at least from my understanding, with its new status.
Yeah.
I think that's an example of where they wanted to become a Snapchat, and
But I think that's again the point of that's
Going too
exactly
far.
no, that's again I think getting back to what I'm saying. When you try and do things which you're not good at, and your USPs, WhatsApp's USP has always been making communication simple and easy. But it's just to get back to football, because I guess our fans don't want to listen to WhatsApp and hello, but I think someone who can sit on top of these existing layers and sort of understand those pieces like a mesh and join them together is going to add a lot of significant value, be it any industries, and more so in sports. Given sports has, because for a fan, sports is 11 men against 11 men, or football's 11 coming and kicking a ball, and them going having fun, maybe drinking a few beers with their mates, or watching a game in the stadium. But what goes on behind is absolutely crazy. I mean, I've been lucky enough to know people like yourself who worked on the operations angle, and it's crazy to see the amount of hard work. And if someone can actually sit behind and make their lives easy, automatically the game will become more beautiful, because I think their lives become easy.
But how difficult is it? Because if you're trying to add value, you're trying to create new areas, new fields. But how difficult is it in a country like India to work with state associations, with the national federation, with the clubs, with the franchises in the ISL, who of course are sometimes very not forward thinking, who don't even realize the value of things like this?
So, I'd like to come back to a very important point that Piyush made at the start about ROI, right? So our model is to give our customers or clients return on their investment, right? So our model is not to get them to pay for something extra, but to get them to pay today so they can save tomorrow. For example, our academy model, we've proven over time that using our SaaS products actually saves them hiring resources, paying for extra resources, managing data, things like that, managing communication, even simple things like sending out SMS. If you have 100 students in your academy and you're going to send out SMSs daily to them, it gets expensive, right? We have automated communication which actually helps people not only communicate with the 100 students, but if the students are kids, how do you communicate with their parents? Deliver notices to the parents which tell them what their kids should be eating, what their kids should be
Which is
drinking.
very interesting, because even in this conference on the day back, they talked about how academies are probably 25% kids and 75% their parents.
Absolutely.
And I think that's interesting.
It's very important. I think that's the value of technology. But again, I come to the point you have an old traditional football culture in India compared to, of course, a new culture which has come in over the last 3 years. How difficult is it for you to interact with mainstream Indian football?
So you're talking about the mindset of mainstream football.
About getting technology involved?
Getting technology involved. So yes, it is difficult. It was more difficult when we started in 2014. We were probably one of the first companies that started implementing sports technology here. Indian companies implementing sports technology here. But over the last few years, we've seen a lot of people coming up with similar things like booking apps, or just a small management CRM tool for sports or for an academy. And what we realized is that the reason so many supply factors are coming in is because there is more demand. So the thought process of the Indian mainstream sports is changing. People are realizing that sports technology is important. They want to have quantitative data as compared to qualitative. They're realizing the importance of that. With the whole India for World Cup and the Under 17 World Cup coming up, people are realizing that you get better sports if your players or your representatives are better. And the way to do that right now, the most proven way to do that right now, we've seen through Europe and other countries and continents, is sports technology. So the Indian mindset is opening up. It is difficult for us, like for example, it's easier for us to speak to someone in Bangalore or in Delhi who is more exposed to these kind of things, rather than speaking to someone from a smaller district football association like Nagar. But yes, even the people from these smaller district football associations are opening up to the idea. So initially we undertook a huge campaign in Maharashtra itself. We visited all 32 districts, educated people about sports technology, made them realize the importance of it. We had personal sessions with them. We helped them set up how they use it, getting young people within their districts, within their associations to come and work with us. Literally, we went and became part of their team. And that's how we realized that this is going to work. You got to go there, be a part of them, and then teach them from inside.
Very, very important. Pranesh was talking about ROIs. Now, how important, or is it the most crucial thing for startups in that way, or tech startups who are trying something new, which is not something which is actually proven in that sense?
And I think ROI is something which sort of is a factor which people will have to swear by more and more as businesses grow. When you look at any mature business, and I think anyone who's reporting to the main boss will be asked just one question: how's your bottom line doing? You can come up with multiple beauty cosmetic factors around it, but if the bottom line is hollow, then sort of it starts to challenge the whole system. And I think what's unfortunately sometimes you can see that a couple of companies who are trying to do this for the joy and the pretty of the factor sometimes end up pulling the industry down. And hence there's a couple of questions, and there was this incubation talk where I was talking about, people are like, is this a real bubble? I think it's not a bubble, it's more a correction, where it was required that people who start understanding that, listen, there's no money to be thrown around just because you have an idea and you want to build an app sitting at home. But it's about, you are looking at a real market gap and you want to solve it with the problem. Okay, you can only do so much with $1 million. I will help you get the $10 million so that you can do it for 10 more people. But the bottom line is, you need to understand that even if they didn't exist, will I be able to run my business? Will I be able to give my team its daily needs? And will I be able to sleep back a happy man saying I'm changing what I want to change? And that's where I think the new generation itself, and I've seen this in the last 3 years with my conversations with entrepreneurs, is changing drastically. Entrepreneurs are figuring out super smart ways of how to go about bootstrapping, because everything starts at home. So if you can't deliver ROI in your own company, how are you going to be delivering ROI to any of your customers? So I think that's a very good movement, and I've seen the likes of Football Man, I met a couple of other entrepreneurs who are doing things to make sure that their primary business never suffers.
I think a very important point that Piyush has made is about what he's trying to say is that developing a case study or a model that is sustainable in itself.
And isn't that a general problem when we come to sports in India? I mean, that's a different point of discussion which we could also have most probably. But the point here is, of course, is that when we talk about football is that football, club football at least in India, is not sustainable. Be it the I-League, be it the ISL, everyone is burning money. So they will say to you, it says, okay, you bring me something which is technology where, okay, I can take care of my database, I can take care of my back office, so to say. If I would take an European example, I would say, okay, if you want the big solution, let's say SAP does it, for example, and SAP does it. So and that has a certain cost, but that has a certain value to a club, but the club is earning revenue, they're earning profits. Here you have clubs. In the I-League, there is no revenue nearly available at all. in the ISL there's a little bit of revenue, but you're still burning a lot of money. What do you tell these people? Because they'll say, okay, you have a nice thing, great idea, would love to do it, but I don't have the money for it.
So the biggest factor here, like for example, we worked last 2.5 seasons with Mumbai FC, and I keep coming back to Mumbai FC a lot when I talk about sports tech and sustainability and how we've done it, because you need to have a little vision when you're getting into this, and as an entrepreneur you have a vision. You got to find other people or other clubs that have that
At the
vision.
moment, using the word
And
vision and Mumbai FC is very difficult on a football field.
I'm not talking about the field. That's the point, right? I'm not talking about the field. I'm talking about what's outside the field. The fans. If you look at how the fans of Mumbai FC have evolved in the last 2 years,
but isn't it a
fan
problem?
engagement.
But isn't it a problem because on the field, at least in football, and both of you are not only just entrepreneurs and tech geeks, so to say, but you're also football fans as well. Is that on the field decides on what happens off the field as well?
It does decide to a certain extent, but once you have developed a sustainable fan base, like for example, if you look at the Yellow Brigade and the Mumbai FC supporters, the first 2 seasons we had to actually bring them together, and this season, if you see, we don't have to do anything. Before every home game, there's a march. They have their own chants, they have their banners, they pay for their own tickets, they get their friends, each one of them gets their friends to the match. They overflow the VIP stand. That is ROI for a club, right? They're getting the right value. Okay, monetarily, the tickets maybe not that expensive in the I-League, it's not much, but it is still something. It's better than actually running that stand in a loss. You're getting everyone to pay to come there. The second thing is the kind of publicity that the club gets, right? Which is directly linked to sponsorships. Right.
So how
right
important
now,
is the publicity and would you say, is it traditional media or are you then rather talking about social media?
Then it's again back to social media, because you talk about the chants and the banters and how the Yellow Brigade is talking about certain staff in the club nowadays, and things like that, how the way they taunt Bengaluru FC fans when they come down. It's
that's
amazing.
Topic for another Facebook Live, guys. I think.
But that's the kind of ROI that a club looks for, right? The club wants a sustainable fan base, and that's what they're getting through this.
And I think to add to that what he said, right? They've always, in traditional sports, whatever, in any business, you say there's a B2C model and a B2B model. I mean, I could be wrong because I don't know much about other lot of industries, but in sports tech especially has created the B2B2C model, which has become really important because sports itself, any company trying to do something sustainable, and this is coming from a very soft part of my heart because we tried a lot and unfortunately not able to make it because of multiple challenges. But one thing is for sure that because of the right structure, how it functions, a lot of technology companies cannot function to the best without the ownership of the team. And ideal formation, you would want the team to come on board with sort of a monetary angle. But even if without it, you sort of have the support of a team or a rights owner or rights holder, you know that the moment that channel becomes activated, once the fans get involved, your average revenue per fan is going to increase, which is the only metric I think which matters in sort of sponsorship or anything. Because if you can increase even the revenue of a club per fan by $1 a year, you've given them a big lifeline. And I think for me, for example, like in my previous stint, we did a project with Mumbai City FC, and it was really interesting. We did sort of a barter system, but they gave us enough distribution to be able to get themselves what they wanted, and we were able to sort of help them put on a much better show on a fan engagement platform, which ultimately led to much more stronger fans next season, because I remember I got personal messages from fans saying we got an experience which nobody else has ever given us. And in that case, I don't think I would ever be able to do it without a rights owner or a rights holder. And hence, I think the rights holders or the rights owners need to even stand up more and say, listen, we need to look at ROI, but let's look at ROI on a 3-year or 5-year pattern. Let's not look at from, I gave Pranesh $100, did I make $120 or not?
Well, that's a very difficult one on one side, but on the other side, a very interesting one. Well, I think a very, very interesting decision, and we're seeing a lot of people watching it and a lot of reactions also as well. So, you're live here on my Arunava Chaudhary's Facebook fan page with a Facebook Live. We're talking sports tech specifically regarding football, and I have here with me Pranesh and Piyush. And if you have any questions for the guys or for me, just go ahead. If we want to summarize of where we stand, and if you had sort of a vision of where this could go maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, what route, what way would you like to see?
Okay, so there are two perspectives to this, the way I look at it. One is the world perspective and one is the India perspective. when you look at the world perspective, there is a kind of a developed market and a developing market, which I like to call when I look at sports technology adoption. So I would say about 4 to 5% or even less than that of the world's football clubs or academies or organizations are actually in the developed part where they're making revenues, they have sponsorships, they have enough money, they're investing in sports technology. What about the remaining 95+%? That is a huge market, and it's not just a football mind or maybe a fan mode when they were existent who could have handled this entire market, but it's a huge market and there's enough space for so many players. In fact, I encourage more people to get into sports technology because the more people getting into it, it's more word of mouth advertisement. The more people understand about sports technology. So the way I see it, the next 1 or 2 years there's going to be a huge rise in the number of suppliers for sports technology. People actually coming up with tech or thinking they can come up with tech. Of course, with every 10 startups, 8 may fail or 2 may be successful to look at it positively.
Or biggies might enter the scene as well.
Yes,
that might also.
And the big players entering the scene could be good, it could be bad, because if they're entering the scene to kill startups, then it's really bad because then they're just reinventing the wheel after that, building the whole thing again. But if they're looking at raising the whole platform, by entering the scene, then that's how we should be looking at it, and that's where, as Piyush said, the next 1 or 2 years, it's not about bursting the bubble, but about correcting that whole curve and getting not only the startups and the entrepreneurs on the right path, but also the venture capitalists and the investors with the money to invest in the right kind of technology. And if we can achieve that balance in the next 2 years, then I see that this 90-95% of the world market, and probably in India it's almost 100% of the market which is developing, still not adopting this technology, should be on the right path, if not there, at least in the next 5 to 7 years. And 10 years down the line, we can actually look at large-scale technology adoption, really large scale. When I'm saying 70-80% of the market is flooded with sports technology, you have competitive pricing, you have competitive technology, you have more people coming to get technology to the suppliers rather than actually waiting for the suppliers to come and ask them whether they want. That's the kind of vision that we're looking at, and that's what we want to push, catalyze.
But I would like to ask him one more question. This is where you say, okay, 95, maybe 98% of the world, or the world of football specifically, is not into this commercial side, because of course there's a large scale semi-pro amateur football, Sunday leagues, this and that and everything. So if I take a German example, you say, okay, it works, let's say in the Bundesliga, maybe in the second division, maybe in the third, then it's over. That's the clubs who make really money.
Correct.
Now if I go back, yes, I will do the link to my hometown of Remscheid, where a club plays 7th division, where they're struggling to put a budget together every year just to play 7th division football in Germany. We're talking about the country of the current world champions. And I'm not even coming to the India problem at the moment. I'm talking about the developed football nation, the world champions, of not having the money to actually do it. How do you solve it?
So, one simple thought, like how Piyush mentioned about barter system, getting things done. So, where do I make my money? As a
exactly, you have to live of it.
I've got to make my money somewhere.
You have to pay your staff.
I've got to pay my staff. I've got to run my company. The company's got to grow bigger. I've got to invest again in technology. So, the simplest example I'll give you is this season itself. If you look at the I-League, how many teams are actually using sports technology compared to last season, right? So if you say a Remscheid, in the 7th division, if I'm right, in Germany, I would say they're still a little ahead of what we are here when it comes to the mindset of adopting technology.
It's a former second Bundesliga club,
Yes.
So. No, but
you can still see that people are adopting. So that changes.
I've seen at conferences in Europe, for example, that the Americans, and I think you will second me on that the Americans in other sports, especially NFL is a very, very good example, are way, way ahead of even football in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are talking just specifically football in the sense that American football or basketball on the sports tech front, on the recovery front, is even 10 years ahead of Europe in football. And then we say that India is even further behind than Europe.
Well, you got to look at it two ways. The glass is half full or half empty. We look at it as glass half full here, because what you said is completely correct about Remscheid not being able to afford that. And if you start to dig holes in India, there's enough and ample to do that. But what I see it as,
let's not even go that way.
I'm gonna look at, say, okay, sports tech can be divided into multiple formats. One is what you're talking about, a sports tech for enterprises here. What if technology becomes so easily available, and you see I forget the law which has that every 10 years the processor speed is going to increase.
Yeah.
So basically technology is only going to improve, which means pricing is going to get better. Now, if more and more people see what the others are doing with technology improvement, there doesn't need to be an enterprise player. People on a user base can start adopting new technology. Fitness is becoming such a big factor right now. People are gunning towards becoming more fitter human beings, which will lead to a fitter nation. And a fit person can be a sports person, but an unfit person cannot be a sports person.
So it means that you actually might be, even in a team game, have to move away from the team and look at the individuals.
So as Piyush mentioned about the B2B2C model, so it's either a top-down or a bottom-up approach that a lot of people follow. But with the way I look at it with sports technology, it's a combination of top-down and bottom-up. Because the top teams are going to have the money or have the mindset or the vision to actually adopt it and start, where it starts flowing down. And the amateurs or semi-professionals at the bottom are going to start adopting. That's why the technology that we have, I said very specifically, is for all. It's even for a semi-professional playing five-a-side, where he can have his own fun factor. He can afford it, paying, instead of paying 150 rupees an hour, he's paying 175 rupees an hour, but he's getting his stats, right? So from the bottom it starts moving up again, and that's why this
so
whole
are these
mass,
five-a-side fields which are coming up, these AstroTurf fields on rooftops and whatever, so that's a target market for you as well?
Definitely, because if you see, there are a lot of semi-professional and amateur leagues that happen, and a lot of times talent is spotted there. People get into the super division, if not into the elite and the I League from there. So these guys, it's better. Isn't it an advantage if they have quantitative data? You have your trial sessions. People are paying 50,000, 70,000 rupees to buy a team in an amateur league, right? Don't they want to have qualitative data on their players?
Well, just to sort of add on to that, right? I think dividing the case study, I think it's very interesting. You look at a simple case study wherein I say, okay, the clubs can afford what they have, and in a non-professional league or an amateur or fun league, maybe the players are able to afford what they can. And in that case, when 6 players out of the 20 are using it, the value add derived from it will be, maybe there'll come a time where the other 14 people realize we need it, they can't afford it, the teams realize the value of it, and then it becomes an enterprise play. So I think one of the most,
it's a mix of both.
challenging thing, and that's why I think sports tech, when you said is it easy, I think, every entrepreneur, it's a very cliche statement to make, but if it's not easy, it's not worth doing it, right? So, so that's the sort of one line, but I think the ultimate thing is, sports tech is probably going to have to be very, very fungible with what they do. They have to keep pivoting, because one of the lines which I use a lot, startups are called startups because the word pivot wasn't available. Pivots is something which you have to do by the hour, if not by the month or the year. So I think slowly and steadily the entrepreneurs are starting to find their feet and know what it means that, okay, if this doesn't work, that doesn't mean to stop and shut down the company. Let's try this. And they keep flying around and they hope that something will stick onto it. But as you said, it's ultimately a game of numbers. I wish the best to everyone, but having trodden down that path, it's not all fun and glory. But the small fun and glory which comes about this is unparalleled, which you can never get in any big firm.
Ramesh is still smiling, so it's not that bad. But I think we've done quite a bit on this Facebook Live. Thank you very much, everyone. A little different than usual. Normally we speak purely football. Today it was sports technology, a little bit of sports business as well. Thank you, Pranesh.
Thanks, Arnava.
Thank you, Piyush, for being part of this, and we've seen a little bit of the reactions. We'll hopefully do it again very, very soon. Your social media, where can people find the Football Mind?
You can go to the Football Mind on Facebook. It's as easy as that. And at the rate @tfootballus and get all the updates with our sports technology.
Should they follow you?
Of course, company comes first.
Company comes first. What you, Piyush?
Well, I like to, again, jump roles, but you can find me in cities, whichever you want me to be. I'm quite the traveler, so yeah, I like to operate. I'm trying to sort of figure out the right structure, but I think I try to operate in one-man army formats for now. So you find me wherever any...
And he does it well, huh?
He does it well, yeah.
If you put a glass of beer and I'll be there. You can find me like
it's that easy. Okay, so if you want to set up a sports tech company, need someone to tell you a little about it, get him a beer and you'll be there.
Dulali is my preferred choice, just saying in Bandra.
Thanks a lot, guys. And if you want to follow me, Arun Foot is my social media handle, as well as my blog, arunfoot.com. Well, this is it for today, and I'll be doing an usual Arun Foot video blog in the coming days. Thanks a lot, and bye, guys.